Welcome, everyone. This is Coaching in Session. My name is Michael Rearden, and I will be your mindset coach today. And today we're going to be talking about wellness and everything that is related to it. Because wellness is not only about one thing. Being well is truly a mindset that you have to give yourself. But I use have loosely because you get to live your life the way you want. But most people, we can just look at the statistics. Once they are going down this road of life, let's say they sacrifice their health, maybe in their teens, their 20s, and maybe even their 30s. And now in their 40s, they're starting to get some health problems, and their doctors are giving all of these bad notes to them saying, you need to fix this, otherwise, you're going to have some problems. You're going to have diabetes, you're going to have arthritis. I mean, we can go down the list of all the negative things that we don't want to hear from our doctor. What would happen if we do have something wrong with us later on in life? We spend all the money that we have earned to get back to the best health in our fitness. This is the aspect of care. We are not even talking about the care that we should be giving ourselves on a daily basis, but the aspect of when we need care the most. We will do anything in order to get that care so we can be well once again. Wellness is always the goal, but the goal is sometimes forgotten. Today is going to be that great wellness conversation with my guest, Esther Avant. Welcome, Esther Avant, to Coaching in Session. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you. How are you?
Doing well. Thanks so much for coming on. Today, I have you on as a wellness coach. We're going to be talking about your work. And in the world of wellness, I always love speaking with different personalities, different coaches, different mindsets, because wellness can be different for everyone. Some people can say, well, I just want to be able to walk around the block, walk up some stairs. I want to be able to run marathon, do Ironmans, and we all have a different perspective on wellness. And some people might say that to be well might be just to be able to walk to the bathroom and walk to the fridge and do things. But yet, I guess you can say the view for many people, right? Maybe they want that chiseled six-pack abs. They want that bikini bod. Wellness can be so many different things. And we're going to be having that conversation today. In your own words, can you tell the world who you are, what you do, and how you help?
Yeah, my name is Esther Avant. I am a personal trainer, sports nutritionist, health and weight loss coach, and I've worked for the last almost 20 years in a whole variety of different settings in the health and fitness realm, from commercial to corporate to boutique gyms. And I've owned online coaching business for the last 9 years. And we provide really full spectrum health coaching for women who are wanting to get off the weight loss roller coaster and go about their weight loss in a way that doesn't suck and sets them up for long-term success. So what we do is a combination of, exercise programming, nutrition coaching, and a lot of lifestyle and mindset work, because that's really what is underlying all the other stuff. And how you are thinking and how you're operating is really what makes the difference between the exercise nutrition stuff feeling easy or feeling nearly impossible.
What would you say is the biggest hurdle for women today to have a total overall healthy lifestyle, being totally well? It could be body or mind.
I think trying to do it all, or the belief that we can, should, need to be doing it all. The thing I pride myself in, when you were talking about, how we all define wellness differently, what I think of as wellness is having a fulfilling and purposeful life where I don't feel held back by my body. I don't feel obsessive about my exercise. I don't feel rigid with my nutrition. That what I do to support my health is sort of like running in the background and allows me to do everything else that I want. And I think that the fact that so many women have poured themselves into their careers, into their families, and are in a position where there's nothing left for themselves, I think is the biggest hurdle to overcome, is to reconcile being okay with setting boundaries or sometimes saying no to things and recognizing that it's not selfish, it's not anything negative. In fact, no one is getting the best of you when you're not prioritizing yourself.
Where has this belief arisen from where a woman would have to think that she has to do it all?
Hmm. Society, I guess.
Maybe
I
society.
think I think, there's certainly some of it is self-imposed. I know for myself, there are times that I am internally telling myself, I should have folded the laundry before my husband got home from work. I had chicken nuggets and French fries for dinner. I should have I think a little bit of it is holding ourselves to really impossible standards. But I think there's a lot of inputs that we receive that are showing us these, powerful and successful career women, these present and engaged moms, these happy and connected wives. And we just start to feel like I must be doing something wrong if I am not able to do and be all of those things simultaneously. And I see it all the time on social media, women who are saying, like, other working moms, how are you doing it all? And when people are being honest, they say, I'm not. These are the things that are important to me that get done. These are the things that don't. And I think, everybody is just kind of seeing like the highlight reels and the ideal and thinks they need to be living to that ideal rather than figuring out what's realistic and what will work for them and give them a life that they're happy with.
You brought up a great point there where we have our social media of other women, other moms, they're out there, they're doing it. And it seems like they're doing it all. And when someone asks, like, how are you doing it? Because they might be struggling to do it all, then the person's like, well, I'm not doing it all. So the reality of social media is maybe a lie, if you want to call it that, where everything seems perfect, but the reality is, we need help. We need sometimes guidance. And this is where, coaching comes in, I believe, because if we can have a coach that we can rely on to help us out, then it's almost like we can delegate some of the work. We can take something off our plate and even off our mind, because if we're worried about every little thing, it's like, okay, I have to worry about this, I have to worry about that. And then this is where the impossible standards that we are going to be giving ourselves, and this doesn't even have to be for women only, it could be for anyone, where we just say, well, we have to do this, we have to be this type of person. And the reality is we end up at burnout because we're trying to do too much. How can someone identify what they should be doing? And especially if they have lofty goals, you're a corporate driven woman, man, whoever, we have these lofty goals, but sometimes those goals can not lead to the life that we want.
That's an excellent point. I do think it's really important that we don't just focus on a singular goal of, I want to lose 50 pounds or I want to make partner at the law firm, but we think about the life that we want to be living and whether we're expecting that reaching a specific goal will create that for us, because often we are incorrect. A lot of times, we tell ourselves, if only I were back at my pre-baby weight, then I would be happy. And spoiler alert, you get back to the baby weight, you're not happier. And then you're confronted with, well, now what? So I think it's important to, when you're thinking about setting goals, is you ask yourself why those things are important to you. And then you actually do, kind of take a step back from the emotions and you look realistically at, is this goal a good kind of proxy for that outcome? Because oftentimes it isn't. And if in the corporate world, if you're telling yourself that, won't see yourself as successful unless you reach X accomplishment, asking yourself, is that how you want to continue to define yourself? So I think the why behind goals is really important. And I also think it's important to think longer term. Something I see all the time is how much we overestimate what we can do in the short term and we underestimate what's possible longer term. So instead of this feeling that I need to do everything in all areas of my life right now, giving yourself the opportunity to plan way ahead. Start thinking, instead of, where do I want to be by this upcoming vacation? Start thinking this time next year or in 3 years or when my kid graduates or, whatever it is, thinking longer term. Because when you have more time, you can really go about something in a healthier, more sustainable, more successful way. And what I've learned is that the people who are accomplishing really impressive goals are the ones who have that long-term focus. And they're not saying, how much weight am I going to lose this week or this month? But they're saying, if I want to ultimately be able to retire and hike these mountains, what needs to change between then and now so that that's possible for me? And they reverse engineer based on where they want to be, and they allow themselves the time to get there.
I want to backtrack a little bit and I want to talk about the why, because the why is going to be different for everyone. For example, if you have children, you might say your children are your why, but maybe you didn't have children before, right? And that's all of us. So what was your why initially? It's easy for a parent to fall into the trap of my child is my purpose. I live for them. And it's a good mindset to have. They can definitely drive you to do great things in life. But sometimes the why is going to be driven from an outside stimulus, right? We see our social medias as we were talking about. We see other people and we say that we have to have this too. And sometimes we fall into the trap of going after something, finding ourselves at the end of it, and we're not happy, as you said, that we can get to our pre-baby weight and then we find that we're not happy. Why do you think the why is so, the word I want to use is deceiving? Because we can think that this is for me. I was supposed to climb the corporate ladder and then we finally get there and we're like, this is not what I truly wanted. So how can we start to direct people into a direction where they can be confident that the why they're going after is for them?
Excellent question. I think part of it is the willingness to get deeper. And I'm sure, you have heard, and most of your listeners have heard about kind of the 5 whys exercise, where essentially you take on the role of a very annoying toddler. And every time you answer the question, why is this important to me? You say, well, why is that important? Why is that important? The idea is that you're getting deeper and deeper and you're getting closer to the root of what's really driving you. That's what takes you from, the number on the scale to feeling better in your clothes to confidence to whatever is kind of at the core. So I think it's important to kind of pester yourself and ask those tough questions. Why is it that I want to get promoted? Is it because, my whole life I've been a people pleaser and this is what, my parents instilled in me is success? Or is it because I grew up without, financial stability, and to me, I won't feel safe until making however much money? There's a lot that usually comes up when you do this digging, and I think that's really important. I think the other thing is to recognize that your why is going to change, and you touched on this with, becoming a parent and things like that. I see it all the time when generally we start to work with someone who's in, pretty negative space. They're feeling desperate. There's like an urgency to do something. I can't keep living like this. And you see that initial success, and then the urgency is gone. What had previously been driving you was your clothes fitting better or being able to sleep better because you're not stuffed after dinner. Once that's resolved, this is when I see people sort of floundering a little bit, where they just feel like, I don't know, I'm not as motivated, or I can't really, I'm not giving it as much, and I don't know why. And it's because what was driving you 15 pounds ago isn't driving you now. And generally, that's a sign that you didn't get deep enough in the first place because you were so focused on, like, put out the present fire. I can't even think about the rest of the house. I think to have these conversations with yourself, maybe have a journaling practice or a monthly check-in where you actually ask, okay, what kind of progress did I make? Do I still feel like I care about these goals? If not, what do I care about? If so, why? And making sure that you're always connected to something more emotional than the surface level stuff. And that may change from, especially in the weight loss sense, as you go from, I want to be able to, bring my groceries in without being winded. I want to be able to go up the stairs without my knees hurting. Check those boxes. I see very often, especially among people who successfully maintain weight loss long term, is it shifts more to almost like, not performance isn't the right word, but like what your body can do. People go from, let me get around the block without being on hands and knees trying to catch my breath, to let me see if I could run half a mile without stopping, to there's a 5K in my neighborhood, maybe I could do the whole thing. So it's going to evolve as you evolve as a person. And I think the recurring check-ins with yourself is so important.
I love that. When we look at the aspect of wellness, we can really get into what wellness truly means, I believe, because many people they wait for the anxiety to overwhelm us, the stress to overwhelm us, for that urgency to finally say, hey, we need to pay attention. We can look back 15 pounds and we're starting to go downhill, we're starting to decline, and we're like, something is going wrong. Maybe it could be self-sabotage because you're like, I need to lose weight, but then you get home after work, you're stressed. There's a lot of problems, and guess what? You have Ben and Jerry's in the freezer, ready to help you out, get you through the night. But then we are getting further away from where we truly want to be. Is wellness understanding that some days are not going to be good? Some days are not going to be everything went perfect. It's those bad days. And then also how we operate in those bad days, because I don't know if you ever heard about this. I'm going to have a self-care day. And the self-care days turn into something that's just, a habitual thing that you do every single time you're not feeling well. What are some practices that we can do when we are not our best selves?
You bring up an excellent point. And this, I think, almost everyone I talk to identifies as an all or nothing person. And it's problematic for a lot of reasons, not the least of which is when you don't have the oomph or the ability to give all, like, well, why bother? I think one of the most important things that you accept and embrace and drill into yourself is it's not about perfection. It's about giving your best day in and day out, whatever that looks like that day. Some days it's got out of bed and I made it to the couch. Okay. Some days it's a walk. Some days you do all the things. But if you only show up on the days that you can give it all, you're showing up very rarely. And I know from my own personal experience, from hundreds of clients, that it is possible and it is better to get better results from doing your best most of the time. And that, some days it's 40%, some days it's 60, some days it's 90. It all kind of evens out if you just keep showing up.
Bring him in. Bring him in. I
You said you can
love
come.
kids. Bring him in. He's part of the show now. You can put him on your lap. We can talk. If you are a audio listener, we have a special guest coming in on Esther's side. Your son.
Yes, this is my son, Mattis. He's 5, and he has a week between TK graduation and summer camp starting. So here we are. I
Awesome.
appreciate your flexibility.
Of course, I have a little one. He's 2, one on the way. We love family. We love kids. I used to be a teacher. If a child ever comes on the podcast, I say bring him in. You don't have to hide him.
I
Be
love it.
proud
That's so
of your
exciting.
moment.
Congratulations.
Be
Yes.
proud of your moment. Be proud of your boy.
The other piece of this, I think, is a skill that I refer to as compassionate ownership, which I think is the solution to living in extremes. And that is, I think of compassion and ownership on opposite ends of the same spectrum, where we always need a combination of the two. And we just get ourselves in a position where we live at one or the other, where we're overly forgiving with ourselves, and we kind of that self-care day that turns into every day, we give ourselves way more grace than we should if we have something that we're trying to accomplish. So that's one side of it. The other side is this really kind of like militant, hardcore, no days off, anything less than perfect, everything is your fault, that sort of thing. And ultimately, we need to be able to kind of float back and forth between the two. We need to give ourselves the same empathy and grace and understanding that we would give another person, because you're not perfect and you're not going to be, and it's fine. So when you do slip up or err or don't do as well as you thought you would, you need to be able to give yourself grace for that and treat yourself with compassion. And also, you need to recognize that this is my life, these are my goals, and if they're important to me, I am the only one who can do the work. Coaches like us can guide you and hold you accountable and educate you and support you, but we can't do the work. And at the end of the day, you need to be able to tell when you need more compassion and when you need more ownership, and to apply those skills accordingly.
Mm-hmm. Right before you took over that segment, there was something that popped into my mind, and I know it's going to pop into the audience's mind, because there was going to be something that needed clarification, because we look at the moments when we can understand where we are. For example, if we can only get to the sofa today, that's where we are. But it's difficult for us to look at our situation and then look at someone else's situation, and we can just get to the sofa today, but they're able to get to the top of the mountain. We start comparing ourselves, and when reality, even though we know that we shouldn't compare ourselves with other people, we should compare ourselves with ourselves, maybe the person we were the day before. This is going to be a strong mindset tool that you can utilize to help you make progress. Because if you even give yourself this aspect of, well, yesterday I was like killing it, I was kicking butt, and now I'm here. I like to think of it as, let's say you're building a sandcastle. And I know this is kind of like, far off for adults, but you're building a sandcastle with your kid or something. A wave comes and boom, the sandcastle is gone. The kid starts crying. Oh, my castle, we worked so hard on it together. You can console the child, and you could say, well, like the wave came and it's okay, like we can rebuild it, or you can just start rebuilding it. And that type of mindset, when you just start doing it, it creates something like systematic in your life. Oh, something went wrong. Let me get myself back up. If you fall, typically you're going to say, you know what? I'm going to get back up. You're not going to like lay on the floor and be like, I'm on the floor.
Right, this
Like,
is
what
it.
do I
This is
do?
where I am.
You
Yeah.
get back up. Sometimes we have to give ourselves this idea that even if something bad happens, like we have a fall, our sandcastle gets, knocked over, we have the ability to do it again. And I just like to link it to life, because if you have life, if you have the chance to be worried, to be anxious, to be stressed, and that means you also have the opportunity to make a difference. So when we start to look at the difference that we create, do you find that the difference is more for ourselves or maybe for the people around us too? It could be a combination, but which one do you think, if any, is more powerful to an individual?
Oh, hands down, yourself, your thoughts, largely because that's the only thing you can control. You can make an effort to, shape your environment and surround yourself with people who support you and encourage you and build you up as you should. But at the end of the day, you can't control what other people do, how they're operating, what they're doing, how, what results they're getting, any of that. What you can control and what makes a much bigger difference than most people realize is how we think. And I have an excellent example of that tied right to what you were just saying about, just getting back up again, just starting, just continuing to move forward. I was coaching a client on this just the other day where we were talking about setting some boundaries around how often she was going out to eat. And she said, for a while I was telling myself one breakfast, one lunch, one dinner per week. And some weeks I would do even less than that. And then what always happens happened. And I just kind of like fell out of it. I said, well, that's exactly the issue, is that you're telling yourself this is what always happens. Because in reality, all that happened was you said you were going to go out 3 times max, and maybe you did 4. And then because you were telling yourself I failed, well, 4 turned into, we lost count because you stopped caring. The only thing that needs to change is how you react when you slip up a little bit or you make a mistake. It's a learning opportunity, but it doesn't need to turn into this big deal. So all you do is tell yourself, oh, yeah, I said 3 times. What do I need to do so I can still end up in a place that I feel good about? The only thing that's changing is how you're thinking about it. And that goes for everything. Another example, I was talking to another client this morning, and she was saying, I was so mad the last couple of mornings I woke up like 5 or 10 minutes before my alarm, and I hate when that happens. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. I almost always wake up 5 or 10 minutes before my alarm, and I love it because then I don't have to wake up to like that jarring noise, and I feel like my body is waking up because it's well rested. It's just interesting to know that your perception of things is not universal. And it opens up so many possibilities to you to realize, do I want to continue thinking this way or not? Is this serving me? Is this helping me? Is this making me feel good? And if not, you have the power to change it. Not easily, not overnight, with practice, just like anything. But what better thing to practice than learning how to master your thoughts so that they support the goals you want to reach and the person you want to be?
Very true, 100%. And the thing about the alarms is like when you break that cycle and it's like a jarring alarm, there's actually alarms that do a better job at waking you up, where it's like a slow volume increase. Those are the best alarms, people. So I know people like to use their phones and stuff, but to be honest, your phone shouldn't even be in your room. So like leave it like in the living room, in your office, somewhere different. I like to even leave my phone in the car. Like if I know I have to go somewhere in the morning, so I know I can get to the car as quick as possible. I was like, all right, I got to get to the car. Or for example, if I'm going to the gym, I leave the phone in the car. It's like, and then I see all these text messages and calls. I'm like, Jesus, I'll do it in the gym. So I'm able to multitask. But
That's a great idea.
and we figure out what works best for us. If we are a person that likes to hit the snooze button, you probably heard about it. Put your phone or the alarm on the other side of the room, right? You're going to get up, and to go back into the bed is probably not the best choice for you, because it's going to feel very comfortable. It's going to be a whole battle that you don't have to fight. And sometimes in life, we give ourselves battles that we don't have to fight. The aspect of becoming out of shape, of falling from, where we were, is something that can happen at a moment's notice, right? Maybe we get into a car accident, something happens, and we just don't pay attention. wellness is also about paying attention. As we were talking about, like we're in control of our thoughts. So we should be paying attention to those thoughts, but yet we love to sweep things under the rug. If we don't like something, if something is broken, I'm sure you heard of like the analogy or the story of like if someone's car is making a weird noise, they just turn up the radio and they're like, yeah, I'm not going to worry about what's going on with my car today because it's not a big deal right now. I'm listening to my favorite Taylor Swift song, whatever it is, and you are just grooving and you're just hoping that you make it to work, you make it to your destination. And sometimes in life, we just barely make it through the day. And a goal of many individuals when it comes to overall wellness is that they just want to make it through. They just want to feel better. But what is better? What is making it through? Is it just getting the lowest level? Or is it, looking for that excellence? There has to be a barometer that we look at when we're trying to say, this is what I want. Looking back at that client who you was talking about, like the going out to eat, we have to give ourselves that barometer because if we don't, then that's when we, fall into that like the failure loop. We can call it that, where it's just like we were trying, we failed, we were trying, we failed. And we don't have to, get mean on ourselves and give ourselves consequences. Like, okay, like if I eat out today, I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to run. And you're going to find that you're not even going to the gym and running or something along those lines. So we don't have to necessarily be that strict with ourselves, but we do have to come up with a plan. And the plan doesn't even have to be like we're journaling, we create our vision board because some of those things they just kind of get lost in the pile of everything that we have to do. So think of a bill. You have a bill, you go to the mailbox, and before you know it, the bill that you had to pay is on the bottom, and you have all the other bills on top. Life can be that way too, where you have a goal, you have something that you're working on, and then everything else piles up on top. But you know how you can fix that? The easiest way, you get a coach. You get a wellness coach, you get a life coach, you get someone to help you keep track of everything that you need to do because now you have someone that's going to hold you accountable. You have someone who's going to be there to make sure that you're doing the things that you're supposed to be doing. And if you fail, we're not there to belittle you. We're not there to say, hey, 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 you failed again. I want to make sure you're aware of this failure. It's more of an acceptance that we are human. Like, it's okay. I make mistakes too. But many people, they fear letting themselves be vulnerable. How can we help people take the initiative to learn more about themselves and then to trust in another individual?
That's a great question. And you're absolutely right that especially among people who have tried and feel like they've failed before, it just feels harder and harder to try again or to trust someone or to think that things could be different. Rarely is it a lack of trusting the coach. It's more a lack of self-trust. And having worked yourself into a position where you just feel like it doesn't matter what I say or what I do because I'm not going to do it anyway. I think, from a coach's standpoint, it's really important to be, this goes back to what we were talking about at the very beginning, but to be authentic and to not have your, public persona be a highlight reel. There's so many coaches out there who are taking, the booty shots and the six-pack shots and are showing what they think their clients are striving for. And I guess in some demographics that may be, but for just like regular people who want to have the energy to play with their kids and who want to be able to retire and still travel and just, be off medications and not die of a heart attack and stuff like that, that's not what they want to see because that feels impossible. It feels out of reach. They want to see something like this, where you have a working mom who has a kid that climbs on her lap in the middle of something and you just keep going. You want to see somebody who's relatable and who you're going to say, I feel like this person gets it. He understands where I'm coming from. And like you said, won't shame me, won't make me feel bad, but will actually help me. Because to your point, if, all those other demands on our time, all those other stressors, they're not going anywhere. So if we want something to change, what is it going to be? We have to actually make a change. And you're right that working with a coach, now you've got the financial investment, you have somebody else who wants to see you succeed, and most importantly is going to help you figure out what's been happening, what's been tripping me up so that you start to see all the kind of shades of gray instead of just the black and white. So I think for us coaches, it starts with being real and showing the good, the bad, the ugly, and talking about how we've helped ourselves and showing that we're real. And I think podcasts, long form content like this helps a ton because on, your shorter social media platforms, it's hard not to just give a highlight. But with something like this where you can actually have a conversation, you can get to know someone. I feel like a lot of the women that I talk to have listened to my podcast before they reach out, and they get a feel for me. They feel like that's a nice person and she seems like she can help. Like I connect with her. So I think that's a great way to warm somebody up and help them feel more comfortable asking for help because that's not a comfortable thing either.
Yeah, having a podcast is a tremendous value, like for individuals to come in to learn about the coach. Because if you're calling someone that you've never heard, you just found them on Google, like you can be a bit skeptical. You can say, I don't know what their personality is, etc. And I mean, I have so many episodes myself. You can, catch me on my good days and catch me on my bad days, but the character is going to remain the same. And I even have other shows where I'm pretty spicy. So people don't like me on that show. But it's perfectly fine because I do it for the yin and the yang, because mindset is not always about everything that's wonderful and everything that is good. There's going to be things that we have to pay attention to. We can do any aspect of the pros and cons of something or the good and the bad. For example, fitness. It feels good to be fit, but then to get fit can be daunting. It could be very tiring. It could be scary even because now your heart's racing, you're sweating, you're uncomfortable. Those things are not necessarily something the mind is naturally saying, hey, I want to do. And then we can
Right.
even
Keep
look at
doing this. Yeah.
different, yeah, and then we can even look at different aspects of mindsets like David Goggins. David Goggins is like, hurry up and do it and stop being like a chump. I'm gonna keep it PG. That is the reality. So, but he uses a lot more spicy words than that. We have to figure out what is our level. And our conversation today was definitely one of, being, understanding that everyone has their own journey, but then everyone can also modify their journey to be true to themselves. It doesn't have to be what the world says or what their mom told them, or their dad told them, or their peers tell them. They get to choose what is their why, what type of lifestyle they want, and they have to begin to take that action. And I think a great place to begin is here, by sharing this episode, inquiring about your work, doing the investigative work to see, okay, am I ready to take this leap? It is an investment, yes, but we invest in ourselves in all the wrong places. I can't even tell you, like, we can go down that rabbit hole, but we won't. So many people invest in so many of the wrong places in their life when, as you said earlier, when I said, is it better to have yourself kind of as like that priority or like the other people who benefits the most? And we benefit the most. And it's almost like the aspect of filling our cup. If you fill your cup, you're going to fill up your cup, and then eventually you're going to be overflowing. And then everyone that's going to be in your proximity is going to also relish in that abundance that you're going to be producing, versus you give a little bit to this person, a little bit to that person, a little bit to your boss, your employees. You're going to find that that cup is empty. It doesn't even have to be a cup. It could be a bank account, your emotional bank account. So you're just giving away, you're just doing all of these withdrawals, giving it to people, but you're not depositing what you need for yourself to change, to enhance yourself. And that is wellness. Wellness is looking at the totality of what is you and is beyond only fitness. Sometimes people think, well, wellness is I have to, have a certain type of body. Well, no, no, no. You have to have maybe that if you want that. But then where are you in your mind? All right. Do you accept yourself? This is beyond looking at the mirror and saying, yes, I accept myself. Like, truly, who are you? Like, do you understand that? Because imposter syndrome is a real thing. And if you feel like you're not truly who you are, then that's when you have to take action. We are getting to the end of it. I do want to get some final words from you. Of course, you can talk about your book if you want to, or you could just do a regular outro that you typically would. And then, of course, please tell the audience where they can find you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. This has been an awesome conversation. You're an excellent interviewer, and I love where this conversation has gone. I hope that your takeaway from listening, you, the listener, is that you feel inspired to take action and do something, and that you recognize if you just keep putting one foot in front of the other, yes, there are going to be times that you veer off to one side, you walk in circles sometimes, you fall down, you go backwards. All of that is normal and it's part of it and it's not a big deal and there's nothing wrong with you. What matters is that you keep getting up, reminding yourself where you're trying to go and striving to get there. As you mentioned, Michael, yes, I have a book. It's called To Your Health, and it's available on Amazon. Speaking of when I was talking about what you can accomplish in the long term, that was what I was thinking of. Is in December of 2022, I decided to write the book, and now it's a real thing that is in people's hands. But if I had told myself you have 6 months to do it, it wouldn't have happened. But by giving myself the time I needed to do it and do it well and get a publisher and all of that, now it's something that I'm incredibly proud of. I'd love for you to check that out. My podcast is called Live Diet Free, and you can find out anything you want about me and my services and what I do on estheravant.com.
All right, easy enough. And I'll make it even easier. All the links are going to be in the description box below. Everyone check out what Esther is doing. We want to learn more about how we can be well, and whether that is getting a book, listening to podcasts, checking out the website, if you have a blog or something like that, or just like reading material, all of that right there is just a wealth of information for you to begin to dive into who you can become. And this is what wellness is. Who can you be? And if you're not the person who you would like to be today, do not fear, do not fret. Just begin to take action. Again, share this episode, do the best you can. You can listen to it again, find the nuggets. There's so many of them here. We even had a special guest. I would like to thank you for letting him on. This is a wonderful podcast. It was so wholesome. And I just want to thank you also for being a wonderful guest. All right, everyone. I'd like to thank you so much for tuning into that interview with my guest, Esther Avant. We had a wonderful conversation. We also had a special guest. If you are a visual listener, you watch on YouTube and things like that, you would have got to see her son. If you did not, of course, you might have heard him maybe in the background. But I just love the fact that, life doesn't stop because we have a moment where we have to be an adult. Like if I was at a business meeting and like my kid came in or something, I'll say, hey, come on the stage. Cool. That's what we're doing. There was a video of a mom. I guess she might have been a single mom or something. She was, needed to go to school. And the professor says, yeah, bring the baby. It's fine. Get your education. And then the baby, I guess, started crying, or the mom was trying to juggle the baby and try to do her work. And the professor had taken the baby, or I'm sure the professor asked the mom saying, hey, do you mind if I hold him? Mom gave the baby to the professor, and the professor is literally teaching the whole class while he's rocking the baby. He's walking the baby back and forth. Sometimes in life, we have to look at, we are not doing this by ourselves. We're not in this alone. We give ourselves this idea that we are this soldier that's going to push through, that we're going to win, we're going to be victorious. And this is a great mentality to have. But sometimes on that road and on that fight and in that war, you might have some losses along the way, and you lose the morale that's going to help you push through. But if you had some help, if you had some assistance, would it be easier to get through? Sometimes you can say, I just want to feel the pride and the power and the empowerment of being able to say that I did it by myself. But to be honest, even if you did it with a group, a crew, a company, or whatever, if you completed the goal, you would still feel happy. You would feel empowered. You would feel delighted that it got done. This is not a handout because you still have your hand in the work. We fail to think or to understand that we're not taking the easy road. We are going on our road. Now, our road can be riddled with obstacles, riddled with challenges, and it could be riddled with slopes and ups and downs and things that we don't like to do on the treadmill and the Stairmaster. But guess what? We do it. And in the end, that adversity makes us stronger. Sometimes we can say that we want the easy life. We want the good things. We want, our total wellness. We want to look a certain way. But then when it's time to do it, are we able and willing to commit to it? Because sometimes you might be looking and vying for something, but your soul, your character, whatever is inside of you truly doesn't want it. When that happens, typically it's because that's not for you. So you do things almost systematically to avoid the things that you shouldn't be doing. Sometimes you fall into the trap, I'm sure. We all do. But then when you can learn the cues, the things you need to be looking out for, you can avoid all of those holes and all of those obstacles. So for example, right, you're driving home from work and you see a fast food spot and maybe it's your favorite one. It could be burritos, it could be hamburgers, it could be whatever, right? You're just driving, you see it and you go, you know what? I haven't had that in a while. You can just pull over and, go off your routine, and you don't have to worry about your meal prep that you did at the home. And I'm not saying that we have to meal prep or anything, but I'm just saying, we're just going down that idea of an impulse. I want this right now. But yet sometimes success is not even the fact that we want this right now. Give it to me right now. It's the journey. In life, we are going to have that journey. We all do. The ups and the downs, the good and the bad. We can appreciate that. We can't have just this wonderful life where everything is good and everything is falling in place for something not to happen. And then for us to say, you know what? Everything is, good and I'm in homeostasis and, I have a pretty decent life. But then you're going to start to look at other people who might have it better. You're going to, give yourself this idea that you can be doing more. But then when something bad happens, you're like, oh my God, everything is breaking and falling apart, right? We can be so critical of ourselves. But the reality is we don't have to be that mean and that strict with ourselves. We have to be flexible in a sense, and the mindset is flexible. This is what we do here at Reven Concepts. We help people with the mindset be flexible, be able to pivot. But then what Esther does, the wellness, understanding what you need, what you would like to accomplish, and how to get there. All of these are critical components in you. And you have to ask yourself, is the component that is currently within your mind, in your body, functional? Is it beneficial? If it needs some type of tune-up or improvement, why not look at that and try to figure out what you need to do next? I encourage everyone, check out the links in the description box below. Esther was a wonderful guest. I'm sure she's a wonderful coach. I haven't worked with her personally, but she would definitely be a person that I would recommend it. Anyone who's looking to enhance their wellness, you have to find the right coach for you. There's nothing wrong with calling a coach, getting a consultation, seeing if it's a right fit. Heck, even trying them out for a month or two and saying, you know what, this is a good fit. This is not a good fit. If something is not right. Think of it as you put on some shoes and maybe you're a size 9, but then you put on a size 7. That shoe ain't coming on. Okay. And if it does come on, your toes are going to be all bent. You're going to be very uncomfortable. Why? Why do that? To say that you can fit in a size 7 shoe? No, be proud of your size shoe that you currently are. Even if you have big feet, you might have a size 15 foot. I think Shaq has a size 15 or something. Oh, well, be proud of that. Don't say, oh, I have big feet and be ashamed of it. Be proud of who you are. And then even be more proud of the person that you become. And it's not because society and other people told you to be this person. It's because you decided to be that person. So begin to look at your why, look at your purpose, and dive into the journey of your life for total well-being and start to live the life that you want to live. My name is Michael Rearden. I'm a mindset coach. If you have any questions, email me coachinginsession@gmail.com, and I'll see everyone on the next episode of Coaching in Session. Until then, everyone, take care.